$84 trillion is set to change hands over the next 20 years. Whether you're passing it down or inheriting it, the decisions you make today will shape your family's financial future for generations. Welcome to the Great Wealth Transfer, where David Pulcini, CFP, guides you through the strategies, insights, and pitfalls of navigating one of the largest financial shifts in history. What you don't know could redefine your legacy.
A great quote from one of the most successful investors ever, Warren Buffett, said, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." So most people spend decades building wealth, but what happens to that wealth after they're gone can depend on one simple factor: how it's invested now. Okay, so let's assume that you do have prepared and responsible beneficiaries, or you are one, as we talked about in other videos, and now we want to try to invest what will be left appropriately. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to invest and when you know you won't be spending the money. So we're going to invest that money when we know you're not going to spend it. And we're going to use the example of Dave and Sue, a couple who built a $2.5 million portfolio, but they need a strategy to ensure it lasts for generations. Okay, so we're going to cover 3 critical investment strategies to protect and grow your wealth for your own beneficiaries. But let's talk about Dave and Sue. They've been diligent savers. They're 58 years old. Again, they have $2.5 million in investments, and they will most likely never spend the majority of it, okay? They've told us, and I hear this all the time, we live within our means, Dave. Okay. Many of you are the same way. Many of you are savers. You have developed habits and routines around your money. And here's what I run into as an advisor very, very frequently. The Dave and Sues of the world, that they worked and they saved, they had an income, and they saved into their retirement accounts, usually for a very long time. And they finally feel like they are over the hump and they have enough. And then what happens? They don't spend any of it. I can't tell you how many times I meet with clients that have more than enough to continue their standard of living, or they can buy the condo, they can buy the car or the boat that they've always talked about, and they just won't, okay? I have clients with millions of dollars that take the long way home to avoid a 65-cent toll, or they spend hours looking for a better deal on a $300 purse. They know who they are. They listen to this. And because I can't truly change habits that have developed over decades, as an advisor, I can attempt to get into the behavior behind it and get folks to enjoy their money, okay? Money is there to buy freedom. It's to offer security. People do not like to see their balances go down though, right? So I can tell them to spend it. I can tell them to buy some things that they might have wanted. They do not like to see their balances go down no matter what their age is. So what do the Dave and Sues say to us? We want to leave a meaningful legacy for our kids and grandkids, or we just don't want them to blow through it or mismanage it. But here's the reality, folks. Their money will either grow exponentially for their family or disappear within 1 or 2 generations. So this may sound direct, but it's true. And to avoid this, you can revisit our videos that covers trust that can help alleviate folks blowing through their money. I want to talk about growing it exponentially though. And I want to do it using a simple rule, and it's called the Rule of 72. And the Rule of 72 basically says and figures out how fast will Dave and Sue's money double, okay? The Rule of 72, it's a simple formula. It's 72 divided by your rate of return equals the years to double. So I'm going to give you some examples here. Dave and Sue have $2.5 million, right? Let's say in scenario 1, they earn a average rate of 6%, which is conservative. A conservative rate of return of 6%, they have $2.5 million. 72 divided by 6, that rate of return, is 12 years to double their money, okay? So by age 70, their $2.5 million becomes $5 million. By age 82, it becomes $10 million because it's going to double again, right? Scenario 2, let's just say they earn 8%. 72 divided by 8, 9 years to double. By 67, their 2.5 million becomes 5 million. By age 76, it becomes 10 million. And by 85, it becomes 20 million. These are real numbers. Scenario 3, let's say they earn 10%. That's a high rate of return to be very aggressive, but let's say they do. 72 divided by 10, 7.2 years to double. By age 65, their 2.5 million becomes 5. Age 72, it becomes 10 million. Age 79 is 20 million. Age 86, $40 million. Okay? Now remember, this is if they take nothing, right? So in many cases, we literally have to take money out because of RMDs or tax laws. But there's usually some amount that we don't have to take. And again, the folks like Dave and Sue, I'm telling you, they're not going to spend it. So if you had, which many of you have seen, $2 million invested in the year 2000, okay, you had $2 million in the year 2000, and let's just say we put it in the S&P 500. Today, how much do you think that would be? 2 million in the year 2000, it would be about 13.3 million today, okay? So now let's say you have today, now we have $5 to $10 million of investable assets. What if we just took 2 million of it and hypothetically did the same thing over the next 20, 25 years? Just think about that for a second. So if managed well, Dave and Sue's money could multiply into a generational fortune, but only if it's structured and invested properly. So again, these numbers are real. I've been around long enough in this line of work to see this play out. Folks that had $2 million when they were 60, 20 years ago, now have 15 million. People that sold a business in 2010 for 3 million and invested the after-tax proceeds now have 12 million. I know these people. And I'm telling you, they won't be spending it. So I'm going to give 2 examples. I know these folks listen and watch our videos. So if you're 57 years old right now and have a net worth of 5 million, you are likely looking at $40 million at the age of 87. And I know that doesn't seem real and it's hard to comprehend, but 5 million at age 57, properly taken care of, is 40 million at age 87. Okay? If you're 73, you have about 12 million. You were looking at about 48 million when you're 93. These are real numbers, folks. So I ask, where does it go? So it goes to the next generation or maybe some sort of charity. Without the right strategy, it could vanish, right? So let's cover 3 critical things that Dave and Sue in this example and anyone really leaving an inheritance really must do. And number 1, invest for growth, but protect against market risk, okay? Dave and Sue could simply leave their money, and I do see this, in cash, but at 3% inflation, so just the cost of living going up, their money would actually lose half of its value in 24 years. It's literally the reverse of that rule of 72. They're going to lose half of their money if they just keep their money invested in bank accounts. On the other hand, we know this, investing too aggressively could lead to major losses. So the solution, and sorry for the jargon in advance here, is a balanced, diversified investment strategy to ensure long-term steady growth. Okay, we're going to shoot for that 6%, 8%, 10%, whatever that person is comfortable with. So considering another step to this, we consider a trust with a professional investment advisor to ensure that the money grows responsibly. Okay, so manage it potentially inside of a trust. We're going to shoot for a rate of return. We're going to make sure it's risk adjusted to weather the market downturns. And the action item here for Dave and Sue, again, sounds self-serving, but it's work with a financial advisor to create that long-term, tax-efficient, we've talked about that enough, growth strategy. Long-term, tax-efficient growth strategy, okay? Number 2, we're going to balance liquidity and long-term growth. I see this all the time as well, folks. One of the biggest mistakes people make when investing for their heirs is failing to balance liquidity with long-term growth. And let me give you an example. Some people, and you may be one or you may know someone, they have everything in real estate or a private business, which obviously can be valuable, but it's really, really difficult for the heirs, the folks inheriting it, to sell or access quickly. And I've seen this a lot of times. Folks invested in real estate with little to no other assets, and the beneficiaries, they can't keep up with it. They don't want to maintain it. They can't pay the taxes. So what do they have to do? They have to sell that real estate at a significant discount just to get rid of it. And the only people who win here are we'll call them the hawkish buyers, right? So others will invest entirely in stocks and long-term funds, which can be maybe really volatile if heirs need to withdraw money during a downturn. So Dave and Sue want to pass down wealth, but also make sure their heirs aren't forced to sell investments at the wrong time. So as part of their plan, the solution here is to keep a portion of it in liquid assets, cash, short-term bonds, income-generating investments. And we would use real estate or illiquid investments strategically, not as the only source of wealth, okay? So we would set up structured withdrawal strategies so the heirs don't have to panic sell if the market goes down. And the action item for this one is make sure that your estate plan or the folks that you may be inheriting from is a mix of liquid and long-term investments so that we have flexibility when we do inherit that money. Okay, number 3, align your investments with your beneficiary's needs. Again, this is if you're leaving the money. A common mistake people make when leaving an inheritance is not considering how their heirs will actually use that money. If your heirs don't need income, why are we investing in bonds? If heirs need stability, why are we 100% in stocks? If heirs lack investment knowledge, why not set up a professional money manager or work closely with an advisor, right? One other thing that I see a lot is folks that are, we'll call them 85 years old, that know they're not going to spend their money and they're going to leave it behind, and they want to actually leave it to grandkids that are maybe 20 years old. Why are we invested so conservatively? The timeline that we should be investing based on, if we know that money is going to go to the 20-year-old at some point, should be their time horizon. A 20-year-old typically should be invested much more aggressively than an 85-year-old, right? It just makes sense. So what is our solution here? We would customize the investment strategy based on the heir's financial situation, okay? Sometimes we have to use different asset allocations or different pie charts or investments for different beneficiaries, right? Some people need different things. So the action item here, let's talk to our heirs or the advisor about what type of investments make sense for them, not just for you, okay? Final thoughts here. We want to make sure that your wealth outlives you. And the point behind this episode is Dave and Sue's $2.5 million can either grow into that 10, 20, or even $40 million if managed properly, or it could be gone in one generation if left unprotected, okay? So to preserve that generational wealth, a quick recap: invest for growth without taking unnecessary risk. Balance the liquidity and the long-term growth. Align the investment strategy with your beneficiaries' needs, okay? If you or someone you know wants to secure this legacy, or they need help, or you need help, reach out to our team at 6 Point Financial Partners. In our next episode, I'm really excited about this one. We are going to cover a really interesting topic that I have run into, and I have a lot of thoughts around this. What if you or your beneficiaries simply just don't want an inheritance, okay? Make it a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Great Wealth Transfer Podcast. If this podcast resonates with you, reach out to 6 Point Financial Partners at 585-485-6048 or email dpulcini at 6pointfp.com.
Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Results will vary. Past performance is no indication of future results or success. Market conditions change continuously. Information here is provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither 6 Point Financial Partners, Private Client Services, nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of 6 Point Financial Partners. They do not necessarily represent those of Private Client Services, RFG Advisory, their employees, or their clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by 6 Point Financial Partners or RFG Advisory, or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives through Private Client Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory LLC, RFG Advisory, or RFG, a registered investment advisor. Private Client Services, 6 Point Financial Partners, and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place.